Every person walking this earth, sooner or later, encounters the poison of ill will. We feel how someone's malicious intentions strive to strip away our inner peace, turning our soul into an arena for someone else's battles. Most of us instinctively react with a mirror response, meeting insult with insult, aggression with resistance, which only multiplies the destruction. However, this direct confrontation is the most expensive emotional tax we pay, for we allow the enemy to dictate the rules of our internal game. Today, we will reveal a philosophical secret that allows one to step out of this vicious circle while keeping their inner world untouched. For millennia, humanity has sought the perfect method of revenge, one that would satisfy justice without staining the hands of the executor. We believe that the strongest weapon is the counterstrike that shatters the enemy's fortresses, but this belief is a delusion. True devastation occurs not on the external battlefield, but within the one who chooses the path of hatred in response to hatred. He who chooses this tactic becomes an exact copy of his enemy, only with a delay. Our ancestors, observers of the stars and human fates, found a much more elegant solution long ago.
This solution is offered by a sage whose words have passed through the ages like pure wine through time. His poetry is not merely rhymes about love or the fleeting nature of existence, but an encoded survival manual for a hostile environment. He taught us that the greatest strength lies not in the ability to strike back, but in the capacity to neutralize an attack without participating in the struggle. The true strategy of the wise lies in changing the energy field that feeds the conflict. This method allows you to remain whole while the energy of evil returns to its source, like a boomerang. Imagine a shield that not only repels a blow, but dissolves its force, leaving not a single scratch on the surface. It is this unbreakable internal architecture that Omar Khayyam spoke of in his immortal quatrain. Malice could never gain the upper hand. To the wicked their deeds returned. I wish you blessings, you wish me ill. You shall not see blessings, and I shall see no evil. Today, we will analyze in detail the 3 precise mechanisms that make your sincere wish for good the best defense against any hostile attack.
For those who appreciate quality literature, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is the essential classic for your shelf. This collection is perfect both for your personal library and as a valuable gift. Don't miss the opportunity. Order your edition now. The direct purchase link is located below the video.
Khayyam was a deep philosopher of impermanence, whose life was permeated with an understanding of the transience of earthly forms. His Rubaiyat are not just lyrics, they are an inspired manual on how to live life without becoming a victim of others or one's own folly. He realized that any external war is merely a microscopic reflection of the eternal struggle between light and shadow occurring within everyone. Therefore, instead of sinking into sorrow and anger, he urged us to value every moment, purified from external negativity. He advised saving energy for enjoying life, not for defending it against petty skirmishes. In a world dominated by intrigue and brutal political games, Khayyam chose the position of an inner gardener tending to his rose of tranquility. He understood that external enemies are merely shadows that vanish when we turn back to our own inner source of light. Most people spend their precious lives constantly looking back at critics and enviers, handing them power over their emotions. The philosopher, however, proposed ignoring the noise and focusing on cultivating one's own spiritual freedom. This realization helps explain why his method is strategically perfect.
For Khayyam, the real duel takes place only at the level of intentions, not physical actions, as intention is the primary energy. When someone sends you evil, they are throwing you an invisible hook, expecting you to grab it and start pulling. If you instead send a blessing in return, you leave the hook unsupported, and it falls back into the mud. A conflict-oriented world perceives such a response as weakness or surrender, which is their greatest mistake. The sage saw that inner peace is not just an emotional state, but the highest manifestation of personal power. Khayyam did not idealize the world. He was a realist who saw human flaws in all their ugliness. Yet his uniqueness lay in the fact that he did not allow these flaws to become part of his own destiny. KHAYYAM's poetry teaches that an evil deed always returns to the one who sent it, regardless of our reaction. This is not a moral commandment, but rather a law of spiritual physics. Energy released with a negative charge seeks an equivalent charge for interaction. It is like throwing a ball into an empty room. It will inevitably bounce back from the wall.
This principle of alignment with universal law, rather than with personal insults, is the key to understanding his greatness. We often err in believing that active struggle is the only sign of strength. In reality, the ability to stand still under a downpour of negativity without being soaked by it is the pinnacle of internal resilience. KHAYYAM suggests we replace reactive struggle with the proactive creation of our own field of goodness. This is what transforms us from a target into a generator of invincibility, and it is here that our journey to the 3 shields begins. To understand exactly how this shield of good wishes works, we must examine it through the prism of psychology and energetic resonance. An intention directed against us is merely an attempt to initiate an emotional reaction that would confirm the enemy's own perceived rightness. The enemy feeds on our anger, our resentment, and our fear, as these legitimize his aggression. When we refuse to provide this mental food, his energy quickly withers away. This is the only tactic that allows one to win without entering the fray.
Reason number 1. Changing the resonant frequency. Aggression and malice function at very low energetic frequencies, which by definition seek a corresponding low frequency to connect with. When you feel anger or resentment, you tune in to the same channel as your enemy, allowing them to easily interfere with your broadcast. However, by wishing someone well-being and blessings, you instantly raise your internal frequency to the level of gratitude or compassion. This high frequency cannot accept the low one, and thus the blow simply finds no foothold. This phenomenon can be compared to radio waves. If your receiver is tuned to classical music, you cannot hear rock, even if it is playing right next to you. Your good wishes act as an internal filter that cuts off any negative signal. The enemy, having spent energy launching a projectile, finds that their target has suddenly become invisible to their guidance system. Thus, instead of suffering from their intentions, you use their energy as proof of your own unbreakability. This process is automatic and requires no conscious effort for protection.
When KHAYYAM says that to the wicked their deeds returned, he is describing this very effect of resonance. The enemy receives back their own energy, unmodified by your resentment, but amplified by their own frustration. They throw a stone at you, and instead of throwing it back, you turn your inner space into sand that absorbs it silently. This non-reaction is an act of the highest spiritual hygiene, cleansing your field of others' filth. The goodness you send is not a gesture of mercy, but a physical law. Reason number 2, psychological disorientation of the enemy. An aggressor always acts according to a template. They count on a predictable reaction, tears, a shout, or a counterattack. When, in response to their evil, you sincerely, this is important, wish them well, you break their entire script and cause cognitive dissonance. This causes them confusion, as their internal logic, built on mutual hatred, collapses. They are forced to internally check whether your words are a subtle mockery.
This forces the enemy to redirect their aggression inward or against their own expectations. They can no longer accuse you of provocation because your reaction does not match their image of the enemy. This unexpected lack of resistance on your part turns their battlefield into a void. Thus, you neutralize their strength, forcing them to fight their own projections and distorted worldview. You become an incomprehensible object that cannot be attacked by standard methods. The impact of this disorientation is often more destructive to the aggressor than direct revenge. They expect a fight that would validate their ego, but instead they receive an unshakable indifference masked as benevolence. This makes them doubt their own righteousness, or more often, double their efforts, but now without your support. You free your destiny from others' conflicts, while the enemy gets entangled in their own trap. Your strength lies in your absolute unpredictability.
Reason number 3, conservation of valuable life resources. The most pragmatic reason lies in preserving your personal energy, time, and attention, the most precious resources you possess. By getting upset, planning revenge, or simply worrying about someone's malice, you are investing your resource into someone else's negativity. Every minute spent thinking about an enemy is a minute torn from your life that you could have spent on creativity or self-development. Wishing good is the least energy-intensive response. KHAYYAM, knowing the fleeting nature of days, urged us not to surrender these moments to the mercy of vain emotions. He understood that revenge is always a double cost. You spend resources planning the attack and further resources healing the wounds. Instead, the simple act of wishing blessings is a kind of investment in your own peace. You keep your consciousness clear, ready to perceive the beauty and truth that reveal themselves only in silence. This is the fundamental economic advantage of the philosopher over the warrior.
When you wish evil in return, you enter into a pact with the enemy, signing up for his rules of the game, even if you win. Wishing good, however, is a unilateral termination of this pact, a restoration of your sovereignty. You show the universe that your energy belongs only to you and will be spent only on what improves the quality of your life. Not giving your attention to evil is the highest act of self-respect. It is not about forgiveness, it is about strategic separation. Thus, these three reasons, changing the resonant frequency, psychological disorientation, and conservation of internal resources, form KHAYYAM's invincible shield. You become someone who cannot see evil, not because it doesn't exist, but because you refuse to see it through the filter of your own emotions. True victory is when you remain in your fortress of joy while the enemy forces break against its walls without any effort on your part. This is a masterclass in strategic passivity.
This principle is absolutely relevant in the world of social media, where ill will has become a virus spreading rapidly through comments and private messages. Every hater or critic strives to take a piece of your light, forcing you to spend hours responding or justifying yourself. Instead, try instantly sending that person a sincere wish for inner peace or success. You will see how your need to react vanishes and how quickly their fire dies out, deprived of the oxygen of your attention. Exiting a toxic environment begins with exiting a toxic response. It is important here to distinguish between a genuine benevolent wish and sarcastic superiority, for the energy must be pure. If you wish someone well only to feel better than them, this shield won't work, because you are still involved in the ego's game. A sincere wish means, I release you and myself from this conflict. I wish for you to find a reason to be happy without harming others. It is an act of internal honesty and self-regulation, not hypocrisy. Benevolence should flow from the understanding that their evil is a sign of their own pain. Consistently using KHAYYAM's shield is a practice of internal alchemy, transforming external lead into internal gold. Over time, you will notice that enemies who previously seemed so significant simply stop appearing in your life. They instinctively feel that your energetic space is not comfortable or useful for them, and they seek an easier victim. Your resilience becomes not just a defense, but a lighthouse attracting people who resonate with your purity. In this way, you actively shape your future experience. True freedom comes when you realize that no one's ill will can force you to deviate from your path. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of resentment and become the architect of your own spiritual harmony. You stop expecting blessings from the enemy because you know they won't reach them, and simultaneously, you guarantee that you will not see their evil. This philosophy offers not just survival, but flourishing despite circumstances. Your blessing is your inevitable destiny if you choose the good. KHAYYAM gives us not just poetry, but a powerful code for managing our own destiny. Do not waste a single minute trying to change those who wish you ill. Instead, concentrate on your inner garden, where roses always bloom. Remember, your internal reaction is your only true weapon, as well as your most perfect shield. By choosing good wishes, you free yourself from the responsibility for someone else's karma and ensure that their evil deeds indeed return to them. The peace you offer to the world always begins with the peace you maintain within yourself. Try practicing this approach for the next 7 days. To every criticism or negative attack, react with an internal, sincere wish for blessings. We invite you to share your results in the comments so we can create a community of those who choose strategic wisdom over revenge. If this analysis helped you change your perspective on conflict, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with those seeking strength not in struggle, but in unshakability. May your heart be an unbreakable shield. Until we meet again on the path of wisdom.